I was to tell you there's a zine out there with 41 1 to 2 page unique dungeons, there are 5 larger dungeons, there is a 0 level gauntlet, all of the player VTT tokens are included, there are player facing and games master maps for all of the dungeons, all put onto a unique Hex-Crawl with 5 different locations, sort of areas for the players to interact with, all that have different creatures and stuff in there. Would you want to buy it if I told you you could pick this up on PDF, currently only for £10? Well, just under. I think you'd think I was mad, but I'm going to show you what it is today. So before I get into that, welcome back to Dungeons and Dyslexia. This is my channel based on role-playing news and reviews, and I also deal with a little bit of crowdfunding and live plays over on my sister channel, which is Dungeons and Dyslexia Tabletop Tales. Right, let me just show you where you can pick up all of this. The book or zine itself is called The Devoured Labyrinth. It is currently available, say it's only PDF currently, print on demand is coming. So it was a recent Kickstarter. I sat down and I'd forgotten I hadn't actually covered this, because I sat down with Zach Goins as the Kickstarter went live and we sort of showed sections of the book and we talked about it, and I kind of showed not quite the complete book. In this, I'm going to be showing you my copy that I've got, my PDF copy. So if you do want to pick this up, I'll link my affiliate link in the video. You're going to want to pick this up because I have got some grumbles with this, but mostly it is a wonderful thing, because say you can take all these 1 and 2 page dungeons and just throw them at your players. Even if you're not a Hex-Crawl person, you've got 46 dungeons in here with all the VTT tokens and stuff to just run it. Okay, but so let me just show you the base cover. So here we've got 41 1 to 2 page dungeons, 5 larger dungeons, 5 regions here, 1 massive Hex-Crawl. And this is just to give you an idea. They are all, sort of say, the 1 to 2 pages, it's all player facing, sorry, games master facing, so you can easily see the dungeon on the other pages. It is beautifully illustrated, and say it's very easy to follow. You've got interior and exterior random encounter tables as well for each of the hex areas, which actually I'll talk about that once we get to it. And here are the authors, which I'll get into as we get into the book, because this is a pretty much who's list of great creators and authors, and I think there's about 15 of them in there. So right, let me just jump over to the cover of the book. This is a jungle set, and it feels very much like Tomb of Annihilation without that big massive tomb right at the end. You can see there's vipers in here, goblins, and I'm gonna start here with a little bit of a grumble, and this is the font used. That it's going to come out throughout the book, and I'm going to try not to moan about it too much, but here we got the Devoured Labyrinth. That there, here, is a Y. And as you can see, it's a dyslexic Y. I would probably take issue with this. I just think this might be completely a selfish or me issue, but I just like to do less work when I'm trying to work out letters in anything that I'm reading. So opening into the credits, so it is, well, I should say that the book comes in at 122 pages, and the lead designers are Andrew Bashinsky and Zach Goins, and a variety of artists and stuff are listed here. And then we've got the writing and designs, and you'll see, if you've been watching my channel recently, you will see things like Bill Harvett's on here, Brian Collin. If I don't say your name, it doesn't mean that it's always a bad thing when you start reading names, but Danny Grimes, Jeff Jones, Steve Jones, Raymond Lillard is in here as well, and Zach and Goins and Zach Allen, as well as a lot of other people. So it is created by it really is a who's list of current Shadowdark and sort of independent creators. We're going to get into the contents page, which is it's a really well laid out book. But guys, someone please hyperlink this. Always depresses me when a book isn't hyperlinked, especially when there will be elements where you're going to need to go backwards and forwards across this book looking for things. But it's clearly laid out. So you've got introduction, then the region map, which I'll show you We've then got the gauntlet, which is the 0 level adventure, which is brutal. There are going to be parts where players just need to run. You know, it's going to be a case of outrun the rest of the party, because if you can outrun other people, you might survive. But they don't need to do the gauntlet, which I'll talk about once we get onto the main map. We then got the first area, which is the goblin hidey holes, which is all to do with goblins, as you imagine. We're then going to get into the central jungle, which is more to do with viperians, so you sort of viper snake people. Underneath the central area, we've then got the labyrinth, and these are heading also for more drows. We then get the demon frontier. You've guessed it, yeah, that's going to have demons. And then finally, the last location is the Giant Hills. And again, I'm sure you've guessed quite correctly, the main antagonist in that area. Then we've got some special locations at the end, so including these 6 tombs and a bridge that is going to be needed to cross to get into the demon frontiers, which again we'll discuss as we go through the book. Then into the introduction, and this just details a little bit about how Andrew and Zach came up with the idea of the book. But what's in the book, you will need to read this. This actually sort of sets up the 5 different locations using the 0 level gauntlet, and sort of explains how the book will work. I'm not going to read it all out because I'll just summarize it as I go through the book and explain what's in this section. But I actually skipped over this section when I first started trying to work out the book, and I found I was missing information, but it's why you should follow a book. So we've got the 2 maps, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show the slightly larger maps. And this is beautiful. I really love the layout of this. So the players are going to initially come up from the north here. This is where the gauntlet, so they can either go over the mountains or come through the 0 level gauntlet. And it's going to bring them up into, you say, you've got the goblin area. It's pretty much divided into thirds. Okay, so you've got the goblin area at the top. You then get into the central jungle, which makes sense. And then we get over the river. So there's only one way of crossing the river. The river is too dangerous to swim. There's no boats available, and theoretically no one's going to be able to fly. So you're going to come over the bridge, and then you're going to get into the Demon Gate area, and then finally the Giant Hills here. So it does sort of the top third, sort of first to second, third level, the middle section, sort of 3rd to 5th or 6th, cross the bridge when they're sort of 6th level, and that should run them through to around about 10th level there. Each hex is 6 miles, so it's just to give you an idea of how wide the river is in places. We then get the Games Master facing one, and you see at the top here in the Ice Peaks, we've got the gauntlet coming across. There are each sort of section has, so I didn't really like this because there wasn't a key, but I'll explain the map to you. You've got your first 4 locations, which are the ones that don't all look the same. Okay, so you've got set locations, and then you've got random locations in each third. And then once you get to the central jungle, you've got, again, random locations. It'll all make sense when we get to it. And then some of these with steps are the labyrinths. So these are deeper and, you know, right underneath the jungle that the players won't discover by accident. They're going to have to either be in that area, or as they're traveling around, there are maps to certain areas of the labyrinth. Then finally, they're going to get over the bridge, and they're going to get into the demon area, which has got 2 set locations and then 4 random locations. And when I say random, I'll explain what I mean about all these random locations. And then once they head to the Giant Hills, which they will see, as you can see from the map, it's a hill, it's quite large. The area that we're looking at, sorry, I'll probably just highlight it here. And that's basically the end game there. And there are 5 locations, 2 individual ones, and then this 3-1, which is 3 different temples that are pretty much combined, but you can run them as separate if you need to. But say all of these, every single location here, if you're not a fan of Hex-Crawls, it's just going to give you 46 amazing dungeons, and whether you want to run the story or not. Okay, so let's get back into the book. And here's the background of the world. So, summarize it. Basically, you had an empress that went over the mountains, discovered the area, decided to take control of the area through diplomacy and a little bit of war. They then travelled down, and I'll just show this, and they discovered this firewall here at the bottom of the map. which isn't showing very well. Actually, I'll do it on this other map. So you've got the firewall here, right at the bottom. And sadly, once they discovered the firewall, demons started breaking out through the cracks. And, well, things started to go wrong from there. The world then, big war went on. Most of the humans either died or left. And then 1,000 years later, we're coming out as player characters to discover it and say you can either get in through the gauntlet or you can go over the mountain. Go through the gauntlet. I definitely recommend running players through the gauntlet. And then this just breaks down exactly what I've told you about going through the goblins areas, the central dungeon, the labyrinth, the demon frontier, and then finally the giant hills. There will be an element of where players may wander into areas they're probably not ready for. The good thing about the goblin areas is you're going to make the first 2 levels quite quickly. So if they do accidentally drop in to the central jungle too early, they're probably going to be level 2.5, at least heading towards 3 or 4 by the time they even accidentally get there. The labyrinths are going to take some more investigation, so they aren't going to just stumble across those. There's hints and clues across the other dungeons to actually get people to them. Once they then want to venture over the bridge, getting over the bridge is difficult because you are going through it's like a towery castle type bridge that's actually built into the bridge that has demons guarding it. So they're going to probably turn around until they're a certain level. So the good thing is it should keep pace for the players and pre-warn them not to go to certain places for a while. But this will give you an idea of how all the dungeons are laid out in here. So there will be mild spoilers. I'm not going to really spoil anything in here, but obviously by seeing maps and stuff, there will be spoilers. But this is your level 1 gauntlet, and this goes over multiple pages. This is, I think it's 6 pages, if I remember. There is an element of getting your players up to level 1. So there's a few things the fighter, priest, thief, and wizard can do. Obviously, if you're playing a different class as a games master, you might need to adapt it. Oh, I should have said, you will need obviously a copy of Shadowdark as well as Curse Scrolls 1, 2, and 3. Okay, you don't need any of the newer ones, and that's mainly for some of the creatures. The VTT tokens are in here, but you're going to need some of the stats for some of the creatures. But this is a really good, well, it looks really fun. I haven't actually ran this, but it looks fun. But there are some really deadly creatures that I'm not going to spoil in here for people to find. So there's going to be a fair bit of running. And then once they get to level 27, room 27, they are out. And freedom, as Wallace would say. There's not a huge amount of art in here, but where it is, it really does look good. I'd say, because most of the art obviously is the dungeons and stuff. But as we go through each of the sections, you're going to get this summary. And again, this is what I was struggling with because I was trying to sort of get through the adventure, not read the summaries. In the first section, so Goblin Hidey Holes, this abomination of letters says, I don't think I'd have ever worked that out if I hadn't known what was coming on. But this is the first section, and it will tell you so Brett Wicks, the Teeth is the Gauntlet. It will then tell you that Doomhold and the Lost Watch are both excellent ways to start off the adventure, and it gives these as set locations for the players to go through. And remember I said about the locations that all look the same? What you've got then is, so in this area, you've got 5 different ones, and you can put in whichever one of these you want for whichever one the players discover. You can go with your favourite, you can go with random, or you can insert your own. And it does say that you can move them around as well. I'd be careful moving them around just in case you drop them into the sort of mid-jungle by accident, where they become a little bit weaker. But all of this and the random tables that you've got, interior and exterior, will be set for levels 1 to 2. There will be teases of things like the drows and stuff like that. There's an area where it's 10 sting bats. This is brutal because this is a D12 roll. So you don't get that bell curve that you get with the 2d6 where some of the friendlier stuff in the middle is more likely to happen. You can get anything from a fairy all the way through to the giant skull. Also, in all of these locations, you've got a link to a giant skull, which we'll come on to once we get to the back. That's a very important location. And then you've got on 11, I think it's 11 on all of them as well, you will find an abandoned, it's an abandoned cave that has got, it's part of a 6-part mini adventure that the players will need to do and discover. And yeah, so say this will come up sometimes on random tables, other times the players will discover them, and if they don't discover them, you might want to just start putting them into other locations as well. And then interior, so this is inside any of the dungeons. You've got the same sort of thing. So this is going to be more themed around goblins. So a variety of them are goblins. But as I said, all of the VTT tokens, so if you are going to be running this on your favorite VTT, are all included in here as well. And then we're just going to get each of the dungeons. Initially they will be there. So in this one, the 4 preset one, and all the dungeons are completely different. So you've got like a standard looking dungeon type thing here. But then as we get, this is like a tower building, a watchtower. Then we've got this glowing tower with this luminescent light at the top with a orb of wonder that will allow you to talk to dragons, which might hint of things to come as well. And remember, all of these maps will have, say, player facing, separate player facing, and games master facing with the numbers on for you to easily, so you don't need to worry about whether they're on the right page because you can have them in front of you. But all of these will be sort of goblin centric, and then we'll get into this central dungeon. So once the players get to level, sorry, the central hex, so once the players then get to levels 3 to 5, they should be heading into there. And again, this is going to give you an idea of where to go. And right at the bottom, it does say the bridge is the only way to cross. It is on hex 1404, and you've got the bridge of eternal sacrifice, which hopefully, given the name, might make the players want to stay away. Again, 5 set locations and then 5 random locations here. Now the exterior and the interior are going to start leveling up, so we're going to see more Viperians and more Drows appearing in here. We've got a new tomb on 11, and again that skull is going to reappear if you do roll that natural 12 on your d12. So there are little bits of art in here, but not a huge amount because it is quite text heavy. All of the, I probably should have just explained a dungeon. Let's just pick on the Traitor's Throne, I think that is. You were going to get a descriptor to the backstory of why the tomb is there, which is always important when you're building a tomb. You know, don't just have a tomb sat there. So this is going to add to the lore and the story that the players are going to discover. And I think most people will be familiar with this. So you will get the numbered location and title. You then get these italics, which you can read out for the players. And then you'll just get what goes on in the room and then anything you need to announce and go through it. So these just do make for perfect one-shot adventures. Even say if you're not interested in the Hex-Crawl and you don't want that and you just want to, you know, 3 players haven't turned up tonight, I'm just left with another 3. You can just, if you've got this to hand, you can just go, okay, so I've got a dungeon for you. We'll go to the Temple of the Burning Hold or Cold. It's probably cold that is going to be. And say some of them will have random locations and say we've got some special elements in here. So it's absolutely wonderful. Legends Depth, I think that is. So this one is more external before we get into the internal tomb. So we have got a pyramid here and a sacrificial temple over there. So as the players go round, it is going to feel very much different as they go through all the different areas. It's not going to be just another dungeon and stuff. So once the players get to 4th through 7th level, we should be able to open up or offer, let's say, the labyrinth. And I say all of these tokens, the ones with the little stairs here that you should be able to see. Now the labyrinth, as the name implies, is hidden deep under the jungle, so it's going to be harder for them to find. There are 2 that you've got here. So you've got the Four Brothers Tomb, which a previous tomb has got a map for, and then you've got the Serpent and the Pink Glow. But they might find that because of the glow that is pink. Okay, so just some hints. And then we've got, was it 4 more? Is it 5 more random ones that there will be hints? And my personal favourite, the Pool Temple, a lair of Viperian Vampire, or Vampirian, if you will. Just like that one. I just like, I do like vampires. Again, we've got the external stuff. So this is going to give us a healer stronghold, now marked with red graffiti. There is no floating skull in this one, purely because we're under the ground. Makes sense. up in the level as well for the interior and exterior creatures. You know, we're now getting vampires, gladiators. We're getting into the domain of the drow, so we're going to see more drows and ghouls, and potentially a purple worm with some skeletons as well. As we're going to go discover all this underground, and then finally we're going to get across the bridge. The bridge isn't linked in here. I'll show you the bridge in a second. We're then going to get into the Demon Frontier. 5 set locations, 3 random ones, because if you remember back to the map, well, I'll just re-show you. This is so we've got the 2 areas now, the Giant Hills and the Demon Frontier is in basically, it's actually less than a third, so it is a little bit crammed in, so there's going to be more hexes and more interesting stuff for the players to do. Hopefully there'll be 6th to 9th. Well, I don't think they're going to get across the bridge too easily if they're not at least 6th level. You might want to, you know, have them slightly higher up, because getting across the bridge is a tough one as well, and because it's the only way. There's no way around. But we've got another one of the dungeons here, the little caves for them to find, as well as the skulls and the interior. We're getting things like black puds in here, reavers, more drow. So there are links across, and we've got a light of a Balor. The flame is going to be underneath, so it's getting a little bit difficult because we've got more demons to fight, and then once they survive the demons, they then will go over to the Giant Hills. Now it does say in here that the players may head straight to the Giant Hills, which is possible. They could head up there to sort of 6th, 7th level, which is going to be a little bit tough. You're going to want them to do the crystal glitter first, but then luckily that is the one on the way. And then we've got this flex location, so you can do these 3 temples in whichever order that you want, or sort of dungeons, but they are sort of very much linked in here. Again, we've got the random locations with the skull, and another. This is now, well, it's the 4th one of the 6-part quests. Say, as a games master, you're going to have to put the other 2 in somewhere, or whatever ones that players haven't found. I would be using this to fill the bottom third up with the other ones that you're missing. But we're now getting into harder creatures. See, these temples are slightly harder. And then this is the first part of the 3-parter here. And then finally, we've got Her Majesty in Entropy here. The special locations, the first one we're going to get is the bridge, which it just says on page 90. It's not on, it's on page 103, but these things happen in printing. So we've got the Bridge of Internal Sacrifice, which is this. So you've got the south end and the north end, which is like a flip bridge. As they come across, they have to go through and then sort of discover what's in the rooms, then what's above and what's below. But there is a sort of flying demon above that. We then get the Cavern of Carnage, which is... I had to really get my head around this one, because this is a dungeon that's designed to just flip the world. In essence, player characters enter the cave. They then, as a games master, you're going to roll up some voidlings, which is from darker realms. You're going to pull them in, and they are going to face off against the players. And either the player character will go out, or potentially these weird corrupted voidlings will go out. And all the players go in, all of the players come out, but you don't know which version of the players are coming out. And it's got different villains in there. It takes you through the setup, etc., on how you want to run it. I think out of all of them, it's probably the one I may not run. I just don't know. But it does allow you to reset the game. So it does give you some options here. So when you want to reset, when you want to shift worlds or dimensions, or just when you want to throw a curveball at the players. And obviously it can be part of a curse or something like that, so it can, you know, allow you to then go and discover ways for the players to get their original versions of them back. I think there was a Stargate 1, SG1 episode that had that, where they sort of twisted and changed their personalities. We then get the 6 tombs. I'm not going to try and read them, because they're all sort of 1 to 2, 3 page things. So the theme of these I probably should explain. So they sent out 6 emissaries. That's another word that I struggle with. They each had a Elysian cord in there, and there are 6 parts to it. And as the players then go and find all 6 of them and put the fragments together, they will gain additional abilities and powers. Okay, so the players will start discovering these through some of the random locations, or as a games master, you might want to put them in. And so that you're going to give them this glowing shard that is going to look like a, you know, one 6. Well, they won't know if you give them the corner initially. They won't know whether it's 4 or potentially 6. So I would start with the middle, one of the middle bits. So they know there's something above, they know there's something below, they know there's something to one side. So it's going to give them that hint that there are 6 of these things to go and discover and find. And they are really small little caves, so there's a little bit of a terror in there, and then they'll get the fragment and they'll put them together. And then once they put them together, they're going to have something really cool that's going to go on. And as they add fragments to it, it becomes more and more powerful with each fragment. So the players are going to want to seek it out. And then finally, we've got the skull, which has got this really crazy maze section in, which you're going to be rolling random encounters and doing stuff. And you've got, this is the floating skull here. And I just sort of focus on the skull, don't focus on the man on the other page, because, well, plot reasons. So that's me at the end of the Devoured Labyrinth. It is huge value for money. Now, I don't know what the print-on-demand cost is going to be, but for everything you get for the PDF, it's absolutely bonkers. Say, if you really hate hex crawls, because I think, you know, some people like point crawl adventures, so you could actually run this as a point crawl. You could just get rid of the hexes and just have fixed locations and allow people to move around and make the hexes slightly easier. But any book that's going to give you 40 odd, you know, one of my favorite Shadowdark books for a long time is the Adventure Anthology by Pick-a-Pocket Press, because that's got 24 adventures in it, and that is a bargain. This doubles the amount of adventures, and it has a hex crawl, and it ties them all up into a wonderful amount of lore. It is. I say the font's annoying. There's no getting away from it. But I won't mention again. But I say they are very different in aspect. Yes, there is an element that you are just going to a location. You're either going to go down or up in a tower. You know, we've got that extra sections with all the pyramids and stuff like that. I just love this, and I really like the fact that what you've got is all these creators that have come together, that have managed to get this coherent story and lore that's all been put together, and it makes sense. I was really worried that the amount of people that were going to be working on this would make it worse, but in fact I think it's made it so much better, because what it's actually done, as opposed to being the brainchild of one person, it's sort of 15-16 people that have created a dungeon or multiple dungeons with a theme that's then come together. But because they've used different styles of writing and different styles of creating dungeons, it helps make the whole place feel a lot more unique. The random tables really do level up and work really well, because again, the exterior one will give a feel of the ongoing doom in that particular area and location of the jungle. Stick them through the gauntlet. Get people like rolling up characters, so get everyone to roll 4 or 5 characters up. Go right, you can go above the mountains or below the mountains, and the way I would do it, if they go above the mountains, I'm going to roll a random chance on whether they survive or not, and then I'm probably going to kill off everyone that goes over the mountains, because they're going to freeze to death. So anyone that goes under is going to be allowed to play their character, and will have more fun, because it's going to get them to level 1. And I've never played a gauntlet for Shadowdark yet, and I'm probably not going to play this, because I'm going to run this. This is a brilliant collection of one-shots that has been wonderfully written into a ongoing theme story hex crawl. And did I mention how cheap it was again? You know, less than £10. What's that? $15 for 46 maps. Go and buy it. And if you are going to buy it, please do consider using my affiliate link. As ever with all these, once print on demand is available, I will update all of my socials so you're aware you can go and get your print on demand. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.